What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you notice, I'm not in an Audi today. So just wanted to introduce the new car real quick. This is the newest addition to our garage. Excuse me. It's my girlfriend's Alfa Romeo Giulia, and we decided to get one for her so she can have herself a fun track car, so to speak, so she can kind of stay out of my driver's seat in the A4. So this introduction is just to basically give you a very quick overview. This is not a review of the car. This is not an opinion of the car. The car is a lot of fun, but that's for a later video. Today, I'll show you a little bit about the car. We did a slight change on it. We have a track day coming up on Saturday with Alfa Romeo Owners Club. So we figured we'd put some normal tires on the car since it does use all-season run flats, which, I mean, they're great for the road, but that's not something to go on track. So I'll first show you just how wide the tires have gotten. Factory specs on the Ti Sport are 225 40 19, and that's on a 19 by 8 wheel. We ended up doing a 235 35 19 just because the selection of our compound tires was so small on these cars, especially for a size like this. So we ended up going with the longest tire name you could potentially find out there, and that's going to be the Goodyear Eagle F1 Supercar 3R. It's a rather new tire. I guess it was developed on the Camaro ZL1, and we had a few choices, so we figured we'd pick this one up and give it a shot because it's a newer tire. It's got decent tread on it, so it's got a couple of water channels, although I wouldn't trust it. But yeah, we just mountain balanced the tires, so now I'm out here breaking it in, or doing a heat cycle, so to speak. So let me show you what those look like on the car, just how much beefier they got. They're wide, they're aggressive. They're not a stretch over the factory wheel, which the all seasons were. So this is more of a square, kind of like a bubbled sidewall setup. So I'll show you what that looks like in a second, and then go back in and just talk a little bit about the heat cycle. So stick around. So I wanted to give you guys a quick visual on these tires before talking about a heat cycle. This is what they look like. This is the tread pattern. I guess it kind of reminds me of the Pirelli Trofeo R's, even though they don't really look identical, but the tread pattern kind of gives me that vibe. This is it, basically just an R compound that we can use on track. We are not going to street these tires. They'll come right off. I guess next week on Monday. But this is what they look like. These are the 235 35 19s. Terrible factory wheel specs. I mean, we don't have much of a choice, but you gotta admit that looks absolutely stunning for a streetable wheel. So I wanted to show you guys just kind of from the back. I don't know if you could kind of tell, but it look a little beefier than normal. You know, the factory tires on these are really skinny, and they kind of give it a, that's nice. These are a little loud, but they kind of give it a bicycle tire vibe off of these guys. So having them a little beefier kind of helps with the looks, as well as I guess the contact patch, especially for the track. So the track day is going to be a two-day kind of like an educational racing school, if you will call it. It's put together by Alfa Romeo Owners Club of Southern California. So we got ourselves a bit of a deal with them. I am a dealer. I am the finance manager at actually the world's #1 Alfa store right now. I won't do any name drops just because that's not what the video is about. So anyways, we're kind of excited to A, try out the car because it's a very underrated European sports car, and B, to see what these tires are about. I might actually end up running these on the A4 if I really end up liking them, but she'll be driving it mainly on track, so we'll see what she says. I'm sure we'll put a video together on the track itself to kind of, I don't know, give feedback on our experience with them and what the two-day racing school is about. What I've been told is very intensive. It's a lot of classroom, a lot of skid pad, and a little bit of track. So we'll see how that goes. So let's go ahead and heat cycle these tires and talk about the layperson's way of heat cycling a tire, because we don't have access to a local track. It's really far from us, so we have to use the back roads. And I'll tell you why you can do so without breaking any laws, but without being belligerent, or just because without being reckless. That's not the point. So I'll talk about that in a second. All right, you guys, before I get on the road, just really quick, again, want to give a reminder that this is, we're just heat cycling the tires. We're, you don't have to break any laws. No reckless driving. I mean, we're in the back roads of LA. We're at Angeles Crest National Highway. So we're going to take it pretty slow. We're going to keep it at about speed limit. The whole idea is to just maintain speed and kind of go through the bends. The idea is to get the tires at a rather higher temperature, so nothing crazy. We don't want to spike the temperatures on here, so that's one of the reasons why we don't want to get a little reckless and aggressive with the driving, but just kind of maintain a decent speed and go through these bends with just a consistent speed. We're gonna get the temperatures up there and see about cooling it down after I turn around and come back down the mountain a little bit. So the idea here is to get it up there, and then once it's there, we're gonna let it cool off before I head back into town and just go back to the shop, just make sure pressures are checked, everything is checked. And the normal way of doing a heat cycle on the tire, the initial heat cycle, is to get it up to temp and let it cure overnight. So in other words, let it cure for 24 hours at least. By doing so, you're not making the tire better. What you're doing is you're giving it a longer life. You're making it last longer, because then the rubber basically just becomes, I guess, conditioned or molded. It's kind of like curing metal or tempering glass. You're getting it used to a certain temperature, and I guess there's a molecular change. I'm not a chemist, so I won't be able to explain that. But the idea is to cure it overnight for at least 24 hours. Although I've personally had success with my Toyo 888Rs in curing them for about 9 or 10 hours. And I've gotten quite a few track days out of those on a heavy car like the A4. So that's our goal, is cool it down, go back to the shop, check the pressures real quick, and then the car's just going to rest until tomorrow morning, and then it'll be used on the road for a couple of days, and then we end up on track on Saturday morning. The ideal way of doing so is to get it out on track, do a few laps, gradually building up speed, getting the temperatures up there. And again, you want to avoid the spike in temperatures, so whether you get really aggressive or you potentially end up spinning out or doing burnouts, you don't want that. You want to just up at the temperature, do a few laps, just maintain that temperature for a bit, then let it cool off. And then, the most ideal way of doing this is to dismount the tires, get them to cool off when there's no weight on them. So in other words, let them cure without any deformity. That's the ideal. That's the written, I guess, by the book way. So not having access to a local track, and unfortunately I don't have a spare set of wheels to be able to use this car on the street, we're just going to let it cure overnight under its weight, which I've done so with the A4 many times. It's, again, not the best way to heat cycle tires, but it is a layperson's way to heat cycle tires. So the goal on this particular car with these particular tires is to get maybe 3-4 track days out of them. Hopefully if we could squeeze that, I would say this is money well spent. They're not by any means affordable. They're north of $300 a pop. I forget what I paid for them, and it's funny, I just literally just paid the shop for them. Speaking of the shop again, Pit Stop Motor Tuning is the shop that I use to maintain my cars, to do tires, to do especially teching before the track. So that was one other thing we did today. We teched both cars. We teched both this guy and the A4. I refuse to self-tech just because there are things that I might say, hey, my car's good for it, the Giulia's good for it. that's not the point. And if you feel like self-teching your own car is a good idea, I'd say just give it a second set of eyes. It never hurts to have somebody else look at your car, especially if you're doing it for the safety before you get on track. The idea isn't to be overconfident in what you have, but just make sure you're safe. Just make sure you're safe. I mean, tracking a car is about as safe as it gets when it comes to doing, anything crazy, any performance driving or sport driving, if you want to call it. It's better than doing it on the street, than speeding on these back roads. The roads are unpredictable. I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a lot of road debris and dust that's just getting kicked up in the rear tires underneath the car. So this isn't the safe way of doing it. I mean, tracks aren't expensive. They're not cheap, but they're not expensive either. And for a whole day's worth of fun, a couple of $100 goes a long way. All you need is just, have a safe car. So anyways, we're just going to keep on going down this road. I won't bore you to death with the video because it's just going to be me driving, just driving to get the tires heated up. No speeding, nothing crazy, no crazy turns. That's not the point. Get just enough heat in them for about 15 minutes or so, and then I'm going to turn around and head back down, park it, let it cool off, then get back on the highway and go to the shop. So I do appreciate you guys tuning back into the channel, checking out the new video. The new car, it's not the most proper introduction I could give it, but this is the circumstance of today's video. It's just breaking in the tires, doing the heat cycle on them, and just kind of talking about how to safely do it, I guess. I don't know. If you feel like you disagree with me, obviously drop it in the comments. Let me know if there's a different method that you've heat cycled your own tires, without a local track to access or a spare set of wheels. Let me know if you have a better method. This is the way I know, and it's been very successful for me. So as always, thank you guys for watching. If you like the content, please do subscribe. I try to keep them coming as much as I can, but there's like a 3 to 4 week break between my videos. The idea is to try to grow more. Obviously, there's 3 cars involved now, which my next focus is going to be the B5A4. You'll see more of that. There's a new motor for it, so I won't spoil anything. Anyways, you can follow more frequent updates on Instagram at AHM Autos. I'll put that on the screen. Okay, same thing with Twitter, but I just like to talk smack to people on Twitter just because it's fun. It's fun to get under people's skin. So there's no content there. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. You have a wonderful weekend and a happy new year to everybody.